There is something strange about modern life. People protect their phones, protect their money, protect their homes, protect their careers. Yet the very thing that shapes every experience they have often receives the least attention. Their mind. Day after day, pressure accumulates. Responsibilities increase. Noise grows louder. Distractions become endless. And without realizing it, many carry mental weight they were never meant to carry for so long. The problem is not always a major crisis. Sometimes it is something far quieter. Constant stress, endless worry, mental exhaustion, the feeling of always being busy but never feeling at peace. These burdens rarely arrive all at once. They build gradually. One concern becomes another. One pressure becomes two. One difficult week becomes several difficult months. Eventually, the mind begins sending signals. Motivation declines. Patience becomes scarce. Focus weakens. Small problems start feeling larger than they really are. And life begins feeling heavier than it should. Now consider this. If your body felt exhausted every day, you would probably recognize the need for rest. If an injury appeared, you would understand the importance of recovery. Yet when the mind becomes overwhelmed, many simply push harder. Ignore the warning signs. Suppress the discomfort. Continue moving forward without addressing the cause. That approach works for a while. Then the consequences appear. Because mental well-being is not a luxury. It is not something reserved for moments when everything else is finished. It is a foundation. The quality of your thinking affects every decision. The quality of your emotions affects every relationship. The quality of your attention affects every goal. Everything begins in the mind. A healthy mind helps you face challenges more effectively. An exhausted mind makes every challenge appear larger. A healthy mind creates perspective. An overwhelmed mind creates confusion. This is why mental well-being deserves attention long before problems become overwhelming. Not after. Before. The strongest individuals are not necessarily those who endure endless pressure without breaking. Often, they are the ones who recognize when something needs attention and take action early. They understand that protecting mental well-being is not weakness. It is wisdom. Because a clear mind is one of the most valuable assets a person can possess. And in a world constantly competing for your attention, protecting that clarity has never been more important. One of the fastest ways to lose peace is to give equal importance to everything. Every opinion, every criticism, every headline, every conflict, every inconvenience. When everything receives attention, the mind becomes crowded, and a crowded mind struggles to remain calm. The truth is simple. Not every thought deserves to stay. Not every concern deserves energy. Not every problem deserves a permanent place in your mental space. Yet many people treat every worry as urgent, every uncertainty as a threat, every mistake as a disaster. The result is predictable: mental fatigue, overthinking, constant tension, and a growing sense that life is becoming harder than it actually is. Imagine carrying a backpack. At first, the weight is manageable. Then another item is added. Then another. Then another. Eventually, the load becomes exhausting. The same thing happens mentally. Unresolved worries accumulate. Negative conversations accumulate. Unnecessary comparisons accumulate. Gradually, the mind becomes overloaded. That is why mental well-being requires selectivity. You must choose what deserves attention. Choose what deserves emotional investment. Choose what deserves a response. Because attention is a limited resource. Every minute spent feeding unnecessary worry is a minute unavailable for growth, creativity, relationships, and purpose. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means responding wisely. A healthy mind learns to distinguish between what can be changed and what cannot, between useful reflection and endless rumination, between a genuine problem and a temporary discomfort. That distinction is powerful. Without it, life becomes an endless cycle of mental noise. With it, clarity begins to return. Another important realization follows. Silence is not empty. Rest is not wasted time. Moments of stillness are often where the mind recovers its strength. Yet modern life constantly encourages stimulation. More content, more notifications, more information, more noise. Very little space remains for reflection. Very little space remains for recovery. And without recovery, mental well-being gradually declines. If this message resonates with you, subscribe to the channel. There is much more ahead about emotional strength, personal growth, mindset, focus, and building a healthier relationship with your own mind. Because peace is not created by controlling everything around you. It begins when you become more intentional about what you allow inside your mind. Many people focus on changing their thoughts while ignoring something equally important: their environment, the people around them, the conversations they hear every day, the content they consume, the habits they repeat. All of these quietly influence mental well-being. More than most realize. Imagine planting a healthy seed in poor soil. No matter how much potential it has, growth becomes difficult. The same principle applies to the mind. A healthy mindset struggles to thrive in an environment filled with constant negativity, endless conflict, and emotional chaos. This does not mean life should be perfect. Perfection does not exist. Challenges will always appear. Difficult people will always exist. Unexpected problems will always emerge. The goal is not to eliminate every source of stress. The goal is to stop surrounding yourself with unnecessary stress. That difference matters a great deal. Consider the impact of a single conversation. Some leave you feeling encouraged, focused, motivated. Others leave you drained, frustrated, emotionally exhausted. The same principle applies to information. Some content educates, some inspires, some expands perspective. Other content fuels anxiety, comparison, outrage, and mental fatigue. The mind absorbs more than it appears to. What repeatedly enters your attention eventually influences your outlook, your mood, your expectations, even your sense of possibility. This is why protecting mental well-being sometimes requires difficult decisions, limiting exposure to negativity, reducing unnecessary noise, creating distance from environments that constantly drain your energy, not out of avoidance, out of self-respect. Because your mental state affects every area of life: your work, your relationships, your decision-making, your physical health, your future. Everything becomes harder when the mind is overwhelmed. Everything becomes clearer when the mind is supported by a healthy environment. Another important truth often goes unnoticed. Growth rarely happens in constant chaos. Growth requires space. Space to think, space to reflect, space to recover, space to improve. Without that space, the mind remains trapped in survival mode, always reacting, rarely progressing. That is why mental well-being is not only about what happens inside your mind. It is also about what surrounds it. The environment you create today will influence the quality of your thinking tomorrow. Choose it carefully. One of the most damaging beliefs in modern life is the idea that rest must be earned. Work first, push harder, do more, achieve more, then perhaps rest will be allowed. The problem is that the finish line keeps moving. One goal is completed, another appears. One responsibility ends, another begins. And the cycle continues. Days become weeks, weeks become months, months become years. Meanwhile, recovery keeps getting postponed. Mental well-being suffers because of this. The mind was never designed for constant pressure without interruption. Just as muscles need recovery after effort, the mind needs recovery after stress. Without it, performance declines, patience declines, creativity declines. Even simple tasks begin to feel difficult. Yet many mistake exhaustion for productivity. They assume feeling constantly overwhelmed means they are making progress. Often the opposite is true. A tired mind makes poorer decisions. A tired mind struggles to focus. A tired mind spends more energy accomplishing less. This is why rest is not the enemy of achievement. It is part of achievement. Think about the moments when your thinking has been at its best, the clearest solutions, the strongest ideas, the most balanced decisions. Those moments rarely appear during extreme mental overload. They often emerge after recovery, after distance, after a moment of calm. Mental well-being depends on creating those moments intentionally, not occasionally, regularly. That might mean taking breaks without guilt, stepping away from constant stimulation, allowing yourself time to think without interruption, spending time in nature, reading, walking, reflecting, simply being present. These actions may seem small. Their impact is not. A mind that never pauses eventually loses perspective. Everything starts feeling urgent. Everything starts feeling important. Everything starts feeling heavy. Rest restores perspective. It allows the mind to separate genuine priorities from unnecessary noise. Another important realization follows. You are not a machine. You are not designed to operate at maximum intensity every hour of every day. Trying to do so creates diminishing returns. The effort increases. The results decrease. Mental well-being requires balance, effort and recovery, focus and reflection, action and stillness. When those elements work together, life becomes more sustainable, more enjoyable, more productive, and far healthier in the long run. The strongest version of yourself is not the one that never rests. It is the one that understands when rest is necessary and uses it wisely. Many people spend years trying to improve their circumstances. A better job, a better income, a better house, a better future. There is nothing wrong with those goals, but one important truth is often overlooked. Every experience passes through the mind first. The way you interpret events influences how you experience them. The way you respond to challenges influences their impact. The way you think influences the quality of your life. That is why mental well-being matters so much. It affects everything. A healthy mind handles setbacks differently. Instead of seeing every obstacle as a dead end, it searches for solutions. Instead of becoming trapped in fear, it looks for perspective. Instead of reacting impulsively, it creates space for wiser decisions. This does not eliminate difficulty. Life will always contain challenges. Unexpected changes will occur. Plans will fail. Disappointments will happen. That is part of being human. The difference is how those experiences are processed. A healthy mind bends without breaking, adapts without surrendering, recovers without losing hope. That resilience becomes one of life's greatest advantages. Not because it prevents hardship, because it helps you move through hardship more effectively. Another important lesson deserves attention. Mental well-being is not a destination. It is a practice, a series of daily choices, small decisions repeated consistently. Choosing healthy habits, protecting your attention, managing stress before it becomes overwhelming, creating space for recovery, seeking support when necessary, showing yourself the same patience you would offer someone you care about. These actions may seem simple. Over time, they become powerful, because a healthy life is often built through small improvements repeated day after day. Not dramatic transformations, not overnight success, steady progress, intentional choices, consistent care. And perhaps that is the most encouraging part of all. You do not need to change everything today. You do not need to solve every problem immediately. You do not need a perfect life to improve your mental well-being. You only need a willingness to begin. One thoughtful choice, one healthy habit, one moment of awareness, then another, and another. Over time, those choices create something remarkable. A stronger mind, a calmer life, a better relationship with yourself, and a foundation that supports everything else you hope to build. Mental well-being is not something to think about only when life becomes overwhelming. It deserves attention every day, just like physical health, just like meaningful relationships, just like the goals that matter most to you. Because everything you experience passes through your mind. Your decisions, your emotions, your perspective, your ability to face challenges, your ability to enjoy life's good moments. All of it is influenced by your mental state. That is why taking care of your mind is not a luxury. It is a responsibility, not only to yourself, but also to the people around you. A healthier mind creates better decisions, better relationships, better habits, better reactions during difficult moments. And over time, those improvements shape the quality of your entire life. Remember this: you do not need to carry every burden. You do not need to solve every problem today. You do not need to give your attention to every worry that appears. Some thoughts deserve your focus. Others deserve to be released. Some pressures deserve action. Others deserve distance. Learning the difference is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. If this video helped you reflect on your mental well-being, subscribe to the channel. There's much more ahead about mindset, emotional strength, personal growth, resilience, and practical ways to build a healthier, more balanced life. And remember this one final thought: your mind is the place where you spend every moment of your life. Take care of it accordingly.